The sun had barely risen over Portland, casting a soft glow through the kitchen window as I stood at the counter, sipping my coffee. The aroma of freshly brewed beans filled the air, mingling with the faint scent of cinnamon from yesterday's pastries. I glanced at the calendar on the wall, its pages marked with family events and reminders. Each day blurred into the next, a monotonous cycle of chores and obligations. My husband had left for work early, as usual, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I stirred my coffee absent-mindedly, feeling a familiar heaviness settle in my chest. It was another ordinary day in an ordinary life, one that had grown stale over the years. My marriage felt like a well-worn path, predictable and devoid of excitement. I missed the thrill of connection, the spark that once ignited our conversations. As I finished my cup, I heard footsteps approaching from behind. My stepson, Jake, shuffled into the kitchen, his hair tousled and eyes still heavy with sleep. At 23, he was navigating his own path but still lived with us while he finished school. There was something comforting about having him around. His youthful energy reminded me of a time when life felt less complicated. "Morning," he mumbled, grabbing a granola bar from the pantry. "Good morning," I replied softly. "Did you sleep well?" He shrugged and leaned against the counter. "Not really." "Too much studying." I nodded, recalling my own college days filled with late-night cramming and caffeine-fueled study sessions. We exchanged small talk about his classes and upcoming exams, but beneath it all lay an unspoken tension, a sense that we were both searching for something more than just casual conversation. After finishing breakfast, I turned to him with an idea that had been brewing in my mind for days. "Jake," I began hesitantly, "would you mind giving me a massage? My back has been killing me lately." He looked surprised but nodded slowly. "Sure, I can help." As we moved to the living room, I felt a flutter of anticipation mixed with apprehension. The request was innocent enough, after all, it was just a massage between family members. But as he began to knead my shoulders gently, I couldn't help but notice how his touch sent ripples of warmth through me, an unfamiliar sensation that awakened something long dormant. "Does that feel okay?" he asked softly. "Yeah," I replied quietly. "It feels nice." We fell into silence as he continued to work on my back. The tension began to melt away under his hands. Each stroke seemed to peel back layers of stress accumulated over years of feeling disconnected from everything around me, especially from my husband. But there was an undercurrent in those moments that made me uneasy yet intrigued. As Jake's fingers pressed against tight muscles and knots in my back, memories flooded back, moments when intimacy meant more than just physical closeness, it meant understanding and being understood. I glanced at him out of the corner of my eye. He was focused on his task yet seemed aware of the shift in atmosphere between us, a delicate line drawn between familial care and something more profound. "Your hands are strong," I remarked lightly to break the growing tension. He chuckled softly. "Thanks. Years of playing sports." The conversation drifted into comfortable territory again as we discussed his recent soccer games and future plans after graduation. Yet beneath our words lingered an unspoken connection that felt electric, a bond forged not just by blood but by shared experiences and unguarded moments. As Jake finished up the massage session, I felt lighter somehow, both physically and emotionally, as if some weight had been lifted off my shoulders along with those knots in my back. But as reality seeped back and like shadows creeping across a sunlit room, so did guilt, the nagging reminder that this moment was fleeting and fraught with implications. "Thanks," I said as he stepped away from me reluctantly. "No problem," he replied casually but glanced at me with an intensity that made my heart race unexpectedly. I couldn't shake off how alive I felt after our brief interaction, a stark contrast to how stagnant everything else seemed in my life right now. It frightened me how easily those fleeting moments could spiral into something deeper if left unchecked. Later that afternoon, while sitting in one of Portland's quaint coffee shops, its walls adorned with local art, I found myself lost in thought while sipping on a dark roast latte topped with foam art resembling a delicate flower. The bustling atmosphere around me felt vibrant yet distant. Laughter echoed from nearby tables filled with friends enjoying each other's company, a stark reminder of what seemed missing from mine. I pulled out my phone to scroll through social media feeds filled with images of couples traveling or sharing intimate dinners together, moments encapsulated in time where joy radiated effortlessly from their smiles. A pang hit me hard as envy washed over. Why couldn't I have that? Why did happiness feel so elusive? Just then, Jake texted, "How's your back feeling?" I smiled at his concern but hesitated before typing back, "Better. Thanks again for helping earlier." The response came quickly, "Anytime. Let me know if you need another massage." My heart raced at those words, not just because they were innocent but because they hinted at familiarity beyond simple familial affection, a promise wrapped within playful banter, and suddenly everything felt more complicated than it had moments ago. As dusk settled over Portland's skyline painted by hues of orange and purple blending into nightfall outside the cafe window where light flickered warmly inside, I realized this simple act had opened doors within myself long shut tight, revealing cracks hidden beneath layers built up over years spent suppressing desires for connection amidst life's chaos, and igniting curiosity about where this newfound closeness might lead us both. The laughter lingered in the air, echoing off the walls of the small cafe as I and my stepson shared stories from our past, moments that felt like a lifetime ago. Each chuckle was a thread weaving us closer together, and I felt a warmth spreading through me, igniting something that had long been dormant. The barista called out for another order, pulling me momentarily from the cocoon of our shared memories. "Remember that time you tried to cook dinner for everyone?" I teased, savoring the lightness of the moment. "You nearly set the kitchen on fire." He laughed, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "I was trying to impress you all. I thought I could make lasagna." "Lasagna?" I chuckled. "You ended up with a charred mess." But it was adorable. As we reminisced, the world outside faded into the background. Portland's bustling streets were alive with evening activity, but in this moment, it felt like we existed in our own bubble, a safe space where laughter could mask deeper feelings. Yet guilt clawed at me from within. This connection felt wrong, yet it also brought a sense of joy I hadn't experienced in years. My marriage felt like a distant memory compared to this electric bond forming between us. The thrill of our shared laughter was juxtaposed with an undercurrent of fear. What would happen if anyone found out? I glanced at him. He looked so relaxed, leaning back in his chair, a hint of vulnerability in his expression as he recounted another childhood mishap. It struck me how much he had grown, no longer just my husband's son but someone with depth and complexity. "Do you ever miss those days?" he asked suddenly, pulling me from my thoughts. "Sometimes," I replied softly. "But life moves on." He nodded thoughtfully, and for a brief moment, silence enveloped us as we both contemplated unspoken truths. "I think about how things have changed," he continued. "How we've all changed." I held his gaze longer than usual, feeling an inexplicable pull toward him, a connection that transcended mere familial ties. It was unsettling yet exhilarating. "Do you want to go for a walk?" he suggested suddenly, breaking the tension that hung between us like an unsaid confession. The idea appealed to me more than it should have. We stepped out into the cool evening air together, laughter still bubbling between us as we strolled through one of Portland's quaint parks adorned with twinkling lights and vibrant flowers swaying gently in the breeze. As we walked side by side on the path lined with cherry blossoms just beginning to bloom, I couldn't shake off the feeling that this was more than just a casual outing. It felt like an exploration into uncharted territory, a territory filled with both excitement and trepidation. "I'm glad we did this," he said after a while, glancing sideways at me with an earnest expression. "Me too," I replied quietly, unsure of how to navigate this newfound intimacy without losing myself entirely. We reached a secluded bench nestled beneath an old oak tree where we sat down together, still sharing stories but now punctuated by moments of silence that spoke volumes more than words could convey. "What if," he began hesitantly before trailing off. "What if what?" I prompted gently. "What if we could just forget everything for a moment? Just be ourselves without worrying about anything else?" His words hung in the air between us like an invitation, a temptation wrapped in innocence yet laced with something deeper. The weight of my own hesitation pressed down on me as I fought against what my heart seemed eager to embrace. "I don't know," my voice faltered slightly as I searched for clarity amidst confusion. "I mean it," he pressed on earnestly. "We could just enjoy each other's company without thinking about anything else." A flicker of longing passed through me at his suggestion. Perhaps there was truth in those words that resonated deep within my soul, a desire to shed layers built over years of emotional detachment and rediscover joy amidst chaos. In that moment of vulnerability shared under the canopy of stars above us, something shifted between us, boundaries blurred as curiosity danced dangerously close to desire. Before reason could intervene or caution take hold, I leaned closer toward him, our faces inches apart, the world around us fading away until only he remained in focus, his breath mingling with mine as time stood still. And then it happened, we kissed. It was brief yet charged, a fleeting connection igniting something raw and profound within both of us before reality crashed back into focus like cold water splashed upon warm skin. "What have we done?" I whispered breathlessly after pulling away from him, my heart racing not just from surprise but also fear swirling within me like dark clouds threatening rain after an unexpected storm. "I don't know," he replied softly, his eyes wide with uncertainty mirroring my own turmoil. "But it felt right, didn't it?" My pulse quickened again, not solely from confusion but also from realization. I had crossed an invisible line drawn so carefully over years spent guarding myself against intimacy, and now here we were tangled in emotions neither one fully understood nor knew how to navigate moving forward. "I shouldn't have. I can't." My voice trailed off as dread crept into my thoughts. What would happen if anyone found out? What would my husband think? What would this mean for our family? "We should go," I finally said firmly, though uncertainty gnawed at my insides, an urge to flee mingling with regret over having ventured too far already into dangerous waters where feelings ran deeper than anticipated. As we made our way back toward home, the silence between us thickened, each step echoing louder than before as reality settled over what had transpired between two people bound by family yet yearning for something beyond their conventional roles. A secret kept hidden beneath layers of guilt and longing waiting patiently to surface once again when least expected. The drive home was a quiet affair, the hum of the engine punctuating the silence that had settled between us. I could sense the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air, each one a reminder of what had just happened. My heart raced with confusion and exhilaration, a cocktail of emotions that I couldn't quite decipher. The familiar streets of Portland blurred past, their vibrant colors contrasting sharply with the gray cloud of anxiety that loomed over me. As we reached our driveway, I glanced at him, his expression unreadable. He was only 23, yet there was a depth in his eyes that belied his age. It struck me how easily we had crossed a line that should have remained untouched. "Maybe we should talk about what happened," I suggested cautiously as we stepped out of the car. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, maybe." His voice was barely above a whisper, and I could see the conflict playing out in his mind. Part of me wanted to retreat into my mundane life and forget this moment ever occurred. But another part craved to explore this unexpected connection further. Inside the house, I busied myself with mundane tasks, putting away groceries, wiping down counters, but my mind was elsewhere. Memories of our laughter echoed in my ears, intertwining with the fleeting thrill from our kiss. Our lips met so unexpectedly, it felt like both a mistake and a revelation. Later that evening, as I sat on the couch with my husband flipping through channels aimlessly, I couldn't shake off the feeling of restlessness that had settled within me. He glanced over at me and smiled, a genuine smile that reminded me of our earlier days together when everything felt new and exciting. Yet now it seemed distant, like an old photograph fading in the sunlight. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "Yeah," I replied too quickly, forcing a smile to mask my turmoil. "Just tired." He nodded but continued to watch me closely as if trying to read between the lines. The tension in my chest tightened. I had become adept at hiding my feelings but wondered how long I could maintain this facade without cracking under pressure. That night, sleep eluded me as thoughts spiraled around what had transpired between us, my stepson and me, a whirlwind of longing and guilt battling for dominance within me. The quiet house felt stifling. Every creak echoed like a reminder of choices made and paths taken. Days turned into weeks as I found myself daydreaming more frequently about those moments we shared, the laughter, warmth, and intimacy that felt so foreign yet intoxicating against the backdrop of my routine life. Each time he came over for dinner or family gatherings, there was an undeniable tension in the air, a magnetic pull drawing us closer despite our attempts to keep things normal. One afternoon while preparing lunch together in the kitchen, chopping vegetables side by side, I caught him glancing at me with an intensity that made my heart race again. "You know," he began hesitantly, "I've been thinking about what happened." I turned to face him fully. His vulnerability mirrored my own fears and desires. "We shouldn't," I said softly but firmly. "I know." He sighed deeply before continuing. "But it's hard not to think about it." The air thickened with unspoken words as we stood there surrounded by mundane ingredients, a stark contrast to our complicated emotions swirling around us like an impending storm ready to break loose. In that moment of vulnerability, something shifted between us once more. As if drawn by an invisible force, we leaned closer until our foreheads touched lightly, a gesture filled with both tenderness and uncertainty. Then it happened again. Our lips met once more in a rush of emotion, this time ignited by desire but layered with fear and confusion that threatened to unravel everything we knew about ourselves and each other. I pulled away quickly this time as reality crashed back down upon us like cold water splashing across heated skin. "This isn't right," I whispered breathlessly while trying to regain control over my racing heart. "Maybe not," he replied softly but didn't move away from me either, his eyes searching mine for answers neither one could provide amidst this tangled web we'd woven together unwittingly. Afterward, I tried to bury myself in work and family life once more, attending community events around Portland filled with laughter and joy. But even among friends' chatter or festive gatherings at local parks where flowers bloomed vibrantly against gray skies seemed dull compared to what lay beneath our surface interactions. At night when darkness enveloped everything outside, the moonlight casting shadows through curtained windows, I often found myself staring up at ceiling tiles replaying memories over again, his laughter mingling with mine, stolen glances across crowded rooms, touches lingering longer than necessary whenever he brushed past me during family dinners filled with conversations meant for everyone except us two alone lost inside our secret world hidden beneath layers upon layers built around expectations imposed upon us by society itself. Yet despite all attempts at normalcy, the weight grew heavier each day, the strain palpable even during mundane moments spent together where silence stretched longer than comfortable spaces allowed between two people who were supposed to be family first before anything else ever came into play here. Weeks later, during one particularly chaotic Saturday morning filled with errands running late, I found myself rushing through preparations only half listening when my husband mentioned meeting friends later on for drinks after dinner tonight while exchanging glances filled with unspoken promises between them too familiar not just for him but also for someone else standing nearby waiting patiently behind closed doors still craving connection despite consequences looming overhead threatening everything they held dear. As night fell upon Portland's streets alive again under twinkling lights illuminating faces laughing joyfully, it became harder than ever before, not just keeping secrets buried deep within hearts aching silently longing for something beyond mere existence itself. And yet here we were caught up within this dance, spiraling further down paths unknown, perhaps destined, never meant for either one person alone, but shared intimately across boundaries blurred dangerously close until nothing remained untouched anymore. The rain began to drizzle softly as I walked through the streets of Portland, my thoughts swirling like the autumn leaves caught in the wind. Each droplet felt like a reminder of the secrets I carried, weighing heavily on my heart. The vibrant coffee shops that lined the streets were bustling with life, yet I felt a disconnect from it all. My mind replayed the events of the previous night, where everything changed between us. I had been hesitant when he suggested we spend time at his apartment. The innocent request for a massage had morphed into something far more complicated. We spent the night together, our laughter echoing off the walls as we shared stories and dreams that felt so distant in my marriage. As we talked, I found myself captivated by his youthful energy and sincerity. It was intoxicating, a stark contrast to the mundane conversations I had grown accustomed to with my husband. Yet beneath that intoxication lay an undercurrent of guilt. How had I allowed this to happen? The thrill of our connection was exhilarating but also terrifying. I could feel my heart racing at the thought of being discovered, yet part of me craved this new chapter, this intimacy that had been absent for so long. The following day, I met an old friend at our favorite coffee shop. The familiar scent of roasted beans filled the air, grounding me momentarily amidst my swirling emotions. As we settled into our seats, she noticed something was off. "Are you okay?" she asked, her brow furrowed in concern. I hesitated before responding. "Just feeling a bit overwhelmed with life," I replied vaguely. She nodded knowingly but pressed further. "You know you can talk to me about anything." I wanted to share everything, the laughter, the warmth, and even the fear, but how could I explain this new part of my life? Instead, I deflected her concern with stories about my kids and work. As we sipped our coffees, her words lingered in my mind, "Life is too short for regrets." They echoed like a mantra as I returned home later that evening. My husband was already there, engrossed in his usual routine, his head buried in paperwork while dinner simmered on the stove. The contrast between our lives and what I had experienced felt starkly pronounced. Sitting across from him at dinner felt like sitting across from a stranger. He spoke about his day with enthusiasm while I nodded absently, lost in thoughts of what awaited me outside those walls. Afterwards, when he asked if I'd like to watch a movie together, I smiled politely but declined. The weight of secrecy pressed down on me again as I retreated to bed early under the guise of fatigue. Alone in the darkness, memories flooded back, his laughter mingling with mine as we shared jokes that felt forbidden yet exhilarating. Days turned into weeks filled with stolen moments and secretive glances whenever we crossed paths at family gatherings or during casual encounters at home. Each time he brushed against me innocently while passing by or caught my eye from across the room sent a rush through me, a reminder of what lay just beneath our surface interactions. One late afternoon found us alone again after another family outing, a rare moment where silence enveloped us comfortably as we sat on opposite ends of the couch watching television. The air crackled with unspoken tension. It was then that he turned toward me, his expression earnest. "I need to talk to you," he said quietly. My heart raced as dread mixed with anticipation coursed through me. "About what?" He hesitated before speaking again, words tumbled out almost nervously. "I think about you all the time." My breath caught. Those words hung between us like an electric charge waiting to ignite something deeper than either of us intended. "You shouldn't," came out before I could stop myself, the weight of guilt creeping back in. "Why not?" he countered gently but firmly, his eyes bore into mine searching for understanding rather than judgment. I struggled for an answer. How could I justify keeping him at arm's length when every fiber within me screamed otherwise? "We can't do this," was all that escaped my lips finally, a plea more than a statement. But deep down inside me lurked conflicting desires battling fiercely against one another, the yearning for connection clashing violently against societal norms and familial ties binding us together tightly yet suffocatingly so. As days passed following that conversation filled with tension and uncertainty looming over both our heads like storm clouds ready to burst forth any moment now, I couldn't shake off feelings growing stronger each passing day despite desperate attempts trying hard not letting them take root within my heart completely. Then came another chance encounter. A moment where fate intervened unexpectedly again during one weekend festival downtown amidst vibrant colors dancing through crisp autumn air-filled laughter echoing around every corner inviting everyone nearby join in merriment celebrating life itself. I spotted him across a crowded street surrounded by friends enjoying themselves carefree while sipping pumpkin spice lattes. His smile lit up everything around him drawing attention effortlessly without even trying hard. And suddenly there it was, the magnetic pull drawing me closer toward him until nothing else mattered anymore except feeling alive once again after years drifting aimlessly searching desperately trying find meaning somewhere hidden beneath layers accumulated over time spent living, half-heartedly disconnected from reality surrounding us both. Before long we were wrapped up together lost among throngs people dancing joyfully unaware two souls intertwining intimately beneath twinkling lights illuminating faces shining brightly reflecting warmth radiating throughout chilly night sky above. In those fleeting moments lost amidst pulsating rhythm music playing softly underneath everything else happening around us, it became clear there would be no turning back this time. Whatever path lay ahead would forever change both lives intertwined together now bound inseparably by choices made a long way leading toward unknown future waiting patiently just beyond horizon looming ever closer. The morning light filtered through the sheer curtains, casting soft shadows across the room. I lay still, wrapped in the warmth of his embrace, listening to the gentle rhythm of his breathing beside me. The events of the previous night played back in my mind like a movie reel, vivid yet surreal. A part of me wanted to linger in this moment, suspended in time, while another part felt an undeniable weight pressing down on my chest. As I turned to face him, I noticed the peaceful expression on his face. It stirred something deep within me, a mix of affection and guilt. The thrill of our connection was intoxicating, yet the reality of our situation loomed large. How had we crossed this line? What would it mean for both of us? I quietly slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him. The apartment felt foreign yet familiar, filled with remnants of his life, books scattered across the coffee table, a half-finished painting leaning against the wall. Each item told a story that intertwined with mine now. I padded softly into the kitchen, my mind racing with thoughts about how to navigate this new reality. Brewing coffee became my refuge as I focused on the simple task at hand. The aroma filled the air, grounding me momentarily amidst the chaos swirling inside. Just as I poured myself a cup, my phone buzzed on the counter, an incoming message from my husband. "Hey. Just checking in. Hope you're having a good day." A knot tightened in my stomach at his casual tone. He had no idea what was unfolding just a few blocks away from him. I hesitated before typing a reply, feeling trapped between two worlds, the life I had built and this new path that beckoned with its thrill and danger. "Everything's fine. Just enjoying some quiet time," I finally typed back, forcing myself to hit send before second-guessing. The silence that followed was deafening as I stared out at the bustling street below. Portland was alive with its usual vibrancy, people heading to work, cyclists whizzing by, cafes opening their doors to early customers seeking caffeine fixes. Yet here I stood, caught in a web of choices that felt increasingly tangled. After a few moments lost in thought, I heard movement behind me and turned to see him standing at the entrance to the kitchen. His hair was tousled from sleep, he rubbed his eyes as if waking from a dream. "Morning," he said softly, his voice still thick with sleep. "Good morning," I replied with an awkward smile. He approached and leaned against the counter next to me, pouring himself a cup of coffee without breaking eye contact. There was an intensity there that made my heart race, a mix of excitement and apprehension about what lay ahead. "I didn't think you'd be up so early," he said casually as he took a sip from his mug. "I couldn't sleep much," I admitted too easily. "Just thinking." "About us?" His gaze held mine firmly now. I swallowed hard at his question. It felt loaded with implications that neither of us could ignore anymore. "About everything," I managed to say without revealing too much. He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if afraid someone might overhear us, even though we were alone in this intimate space filled with secrets. "I can't stop thinking about last night." His admission sent shivers down my spine. It was both exhilarating and terrifying hearing those words spoken aloud. "Neither can I," I whispered back before realizing how dangerously close we were treading again. In that shared silence hung unspoken feelings, longing intertwined with uncertainty about where this path might lead us both. Yet before either of us could say more or cross another boundary we might regret later on, fate intervened once again. My phone buzzed again insistently on the counter. With dread pooling in my stomach anew as if sensing impending doom lurking just beyond reach, I glanced down at the screen only to find another message from my husband, "Heading home early today. Can't wait to see you." My heart raced even faster now. Panic set in as reality crashed over me like icy water splashing against skin, unprepared for such sudden shockwaves rippling through our fragile connection built upon stolen moments and whispered confessions exchanged under cover darkness enveloping our lives. "Outside these walls." "What is it?" he asked softly but urgently, noticing change wash over me like storm clouds gathering ominously overhead, threatening rain without warning soon enough. "My husband is coming home early." My voice trembled slightly despite efforts remained steady while speaking truthfully about situation unfolding before us both, now irrevocably changed by choices made without foresight, consequences looming ever closer. His expression shifted instantly. From curiosity mixed confusion morphing into something darker tinged fear, perhaps realization dawning upon him too late what risks we'd taken already without thinking fully through implications surrounding decisions made less than 24 hours ago. "We need to talk about this," he said, finally breaking silence between us, heavy-laden tension palpable, filling air, thickly suffocating any remaining sense normalcy left lingering here among two people caught up, whirlwind emotions spiraling out control, fast approaching point no return. "Yes," I nodded reluctantly, knowing deep down conversation necessary but dreading outcome likely awaiting us both once truth laid bare before each other, stripped away pretense surrounding affair blossoming unexpectedly between stepson mother caught up, momentary lapse, judgment-fueled desire escape, mundane realities existence faced daily together, separate lives intertwined briefly, fleetingly, forever changed, now bound tightly by choices made under cover darkness, hidden away from prying eyes. Watching closely, always ready pounce when least expected. We moved into the living room where sunlight streamed through large windows illuminating space around us, casting bright reflections off surfaces, creating warmth contrasting sharply against cold reality settling heavily upon shoulders, pressing down hard, reminding me consequences awaited just beyond horizon, looming ever closer, ready strike unexpectedly when least prepared, face truth head-on, confronting fears lurking beneath surface, waiting patiently for moment reveal themselves fully, unmasked true nature hiding shadows obscured until now finally brought light, shone brightly, illuminating paths diverging towards uncertain futures lying ahead, waiting patiently just beyond reach. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the room as I sat on the edge of the couch, my heart racing with the weight of our secrets. My husband was in the kitchen, preparing for the family gathering that would soon fill our home with laughter and chatter. I could hear him humming softly to himself, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling inside me. I glanced at my phone, half expecting a message from my stepson. Each time it buzzed, my heart leaped in anticipation, only to sink when it was another mundane notification. How could something so simple, a request for a massage, have spiraled into this tangled web of emotions? The thrill of our connection had morphed into a burden I could scarcely bear. As I prepared for the evening, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. The reflection staring back was a stranger, a woman lost between two worlds. The vibrant colors I wore felt like armor against the dullness of my reality, but they couldn't shield me from the truth lurking just beneath the surface. "Are you ready?" My husband's voice broke through my thoughts as he entered the room, his smile warm and genuine. "I can't wait to see everyone." "Of course," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Just give me a moment." He nodded and returned to his preparations, leaving me alone with my thoughts once more. The gathering would be filled with family, my stepson included, and I couldn't shake off the anxiety that gripped me at the thought of being near him while maintaining this facade. As guests began to arrive, laughter filled our home like an unwelcome guest crashing a quiet party. I moved through the crowd, greeting relatives and making small talk while feeling increasingly detached from it all. My mind wandered back to our secret meetings, the stolen moments that now felt like fragments of a dream slipping away. In one corner of the living room, I noticed my stepson engaged in conversation with some cousins. He looked relaxed and carefree, but there was an intensity behind his eyes that sent shivers down my spine. Memories flooded back, the warmth of his touch during those massages and how we had crossed boundaries that should never have been crossed. Then it happened, a chance remark from my husband that pierced through the noise surrounding us. "You know," he said casually while pouring drinks for our guests, "I've always admired how close you and stepson's name have become over these past few months." The words hung heavy in the air as all eyes turned toward me, waiting for my reaction. A flush crept up my neck, panic surged through me like ice water. How could he say something so innocuous yet so loaded? Did he sense something? Was it just innocent observation or intuition? "Yeah," I managed to reply with an awkward laugh. "He's been really helpful around here." The conversation quickly shifted back to lighter topics, but I felt as if time had slowed down around me. Each laugh echoed like a reminder of what was at stake, a precarious balance teetering on the edge of revelation. As more guests arrived and mingled about, I found myself retreating to quieter corners whenever possible. It became increasingly difficult to mask my emotions. Every glance exchanged with my stepson seemed charged with unspoken words and hidden feelings. Later in the evening, as people began to settle into their chairs for dinner, we gathered around the table laden with food, an abundance meant to signify togetherness but now felt like a suffocating blanket over our secrets. During dinner, small talk flowed easily among family members while I struggled internally with every bite taken. My husband's hand brushed against mine as he reached for more bread. It sent jolts through me, reminders of what we once shared versus what had become so complicated between us. "Have you thought about taking that trip we discussed?" he asked suddenly between bites. "What trip?" My voice came out sharper than intended, guilt washed over me instantly. "The one to California next month," he replied lightly but looked at me closely now. "Oh, yes," I said hastily before forcing another smile onto my face. "I've been thinking about it." His expression shifted slightly, concern creasing his brow, but before he could probe further, someone else chimed in about vacation plans and travel stories began flying across the table like confetti celebrating fleeting moments. Yet amid this celebration lay an undercurrent of tension simmering just beneath each cheerful exchange, a reminder that nothing was as it seemed anymore within these walls. After dinner ended and guests began drifting away into goodbyes and well wishes for future gatherings ahead, I found myself alone momentarily in our living room surrounded by empty plates and remnants left behind by laughter now fading into silence. It was then that he appeared, my stepson slipping quietly into view from behind an open door leading outside onto our porch where twilight painted everything in shades of blue-black mystery tinged with nostalgia echoing memories shared only between us. "We need to talk," he said softly yet firmly enough not leave room for misinterpretation or doubt lingering between us any more than necessary given circumstances surrounding everything unfolding around us lately. "What is there left to say?" My voice trembled slightly despite efforts maintaining composure amidst growing unease swelling within me. Fear clashed against desire, creating chaos within, heart racing wildly beneath skin tautly stretched across fragile frame, holding secrets hidden deep inside only now beginning unravel, slowly revealing truths long buried beneath surface layers built up over years spent pretending life perfect when reality far different altogether. I can't keep pretending, he confessed quietly, stepping closer, bridging distance separating us both physically emotionally, creating tension crackling through air, thickening atmosphere, charged electricity sparking, igniting fire burning brightly, hidden away until now finally unleashed. Uncontainable force threatening consume everything around us if not careful. Each word hung heavily between us like an unsaid promise, waiting patiently until moment right reveal itself fully, exposing raw vulnerability laid bare before each other, stripped down layers shielding hearts protected until now finally opening doors leading toward uncharted territory, fraught danger, unknown risks awaiting on horizon looming ever closer, threatening engulf both lives forever changed by choices made along way. I don't know what you want from me. My voice raised slightly despite efforts keeping calm, steady, breaking under pressure, mounting steadily, pushing against walls built around, heart protecting, fragile state remaining intact, somehow still holding together despite cracks forming, slowly widening gaps letting light seep through, illuminating darkness, hiding secrets buried deep down below surface level, barely scratching surface, revealing complexities, tangled relationships woven intricately together, binding fates entwined, forever shaped. Choices made, a long path traveled thus far. I want you. His declaration hung suspended in air, heavy laden urgency, pulsing heartbeat matching rhythm, pounding steadily against chest, aching longing, yearning desperately, seeking connection, lost somewhere along journey taken together, navigating murky waters, uncertain depths. Exploring unfamiliar terrain, discovering new landscapes previously unexplored, revealing hidden truths lying dormant, waiting patiently until right moment arrive, finally unleash power contained within heart's yearning, desperately find solace, comfort, understanding, companionship amidst chaos swirling around, threatening pull apart everything once held dear. And there we stood, two souls caught between what was expected and what we truly desired. Facing uncertain futures, filled hope, despair, longing, love, pain, weaving intricate tapestry, life intertwined, bound tightly together yet fraying edges threatening unravel, completely exposing raw threads woven together tightly, holding everything intact thus far. The weight of his confession lingered in the air, thick and suffocating. I stood there, grappling with the enormity of his words. I want you, he had said, and those three words echoed in my mind like a haunting refrain. I could see the vulnerability in his eyes, a reflection of my own confusion and longing. Yet, how could I reconcile this with the life I had built? Do you really mean that? I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. The question felt like a fragile bridge between us, one that could easily crumble under the pressure of reality. He stepped closer, an earnestness radiating from him. I do. More than anything. His gaze pierced through me, igniting something deep within, a spark that had long been extinguished in my marriage. But amidst the flicker of excitement was an overwhelming sense of guilt that threatened to engulf me. As I turned away, seeking solace in the familiar chaos of my thoughts, memories began to surface unbidden. Letters from my husband lay tucked away in a drawer, words once filled with passion and promise. I remembered how he had poured his heart into those pages during our early years together. The laughter we shared over coffee on lazy Sunday mornings felt like a lifetime ago. Why are we doing this? I asked, my voice trembling as I faced him again. What about everything else? He shrugged slightly, frustration etched across his features. Everything else feels so far away when I'm with you. The truth was undeniable. Our connection was intoxicating yet perilous. Each moment spent together drew me deeper into a world where desire and regret danced dangerously close. But could I truly forsake everything for this fleeting passion? I can't keep living like this, I admitted finally, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. Then let's make it real, he urged softly, stepping closer once more. But what did that mean? How could we forge something genuine out of shadows? The implications loomed large over us both, a daunting wall we were too afraid to climb together. In that moment of silence between us, an unexpected knock on the door shattered our fragile bubble of intimacy. My heart raced as panic surged through me. It was too soon for interruptions like this. "Who is it?" he called out cautiously. "It's Mom," came my husband's cheerful voice from the other side. I froze, caught between two worlds, the one outside laden with normalcy and expectations and the one inside filled with turmoil and longing. My stepson's expression shifted to one of alarm as he stepped back instinctively. "We need to hide," he whispered urgently. With quick movements fueled by adrenaline, we scrambled to separate ourselves from the tension that hung heavy in the air. He ducked behind a chair while I hastily wiped away any trace of emotion from my face before opening the door. "Hey! You're home early," I said brightly as if nothing were amiss. My husband stepped inside with a smile that felt both comforting and suffocating all at once. "I thought we could have dinner together." "Sounds great," I replied too eagerly while glancing back at where my stepson hid just out of sight. As we settled down for dinner, my husband regaling me with stories from work, I couldn't shake off the feeling of dread creeping into every bite I took. The laughter felt forced, each smile masked an underlying tension that threatened to unravel everything if exposed. After dinner concluded and dishes were cleared away, my husband suggested watching a movie together, an attempt at normalcy amid rising chaos. As we settled onto the couch side by side, part of me longed for comfort in his presence while another part craved something entirely different, the warmth and thrill shared only moments ago with my stepson. "Where's your brother?" my husband asked casually while reaching for the remote control. "Oh, he's probably busy with homework," I replied quickly without thinking further about it than necessary. But even as those words left my lips, guilt rushed through me like ice water. My stepson wasn't just busy. He was hiding because we were entangled in something forbidden and dangerous that threatened everything around us. The movie played on but held no interest for me anymore. It became merely background noise against the cacophony brewing inside my mind, a storm raging between duty and desire fighting for dominance over what remained of my heart. Later that night, when everyone had retreated to their respective corners, my husband drifting off into sleep beside me, I lay wide awake staring at the ceiling, lost in thoughts swirling around unanswered questions about love and loyalty intertwined so intricately it felt impossible to unravel them without causing irreparable damage along the way. Could love be reborn within these walls? Or would it only serve as fuel for destruction? My phone buzzed quietly on the nightstand, an unexpected message from him. "Can we talk tomorrow?" A shiver ran down my spine as uncertainty coursed through me again. What more could there be left unsaid? Was there any way forward without losing everything? As dawn broke over Portland's skyline, casting soft hues through our bedroom window, illuminating all shadows lurking beneath its surface, I knew change was inevitable, whether welcomed or feared, and soon enough decisions would need to be made, confronting truths long buried beneath layers upon layers built up over time. Tomorrow would come bearing consequences regardless if they were sought after or run from altogether. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room, yet it did little to dispel the chill of uncertainty wrapping around my heart. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft sounds of life stirring outside. The city was waking up, but I was trapped in a moment that felt suspended in time, grappling with choices that loomed larger than ever. I had spent countless nights contemplating my life, my marriage, my affair, and everything in between. In those quiet hours, I had often found solace in my stepson's presence, but now that comfort felt tainted. The thrill that once surged through me had morphed into something heavier. Guilt pressed down on me like a weight I could no longer bear. With a deep breath, I swung my legs over the side of the bed and planted my feet on the cool wooden floor. Each step toward the kitchen felt monumental, as if I were crossing a threshold into an unknown future. My husband would be up soon, he always was. The routine of our mornings was as predictable as the rising sun, a stark contrast to the chaos brewing within me. As I brewed coffee, memories flooded back, laughter shared with my stepson over silly stories and late-night conversations that blurred the lines of our relationship. Each recollection brought back feelings I had buried deep within myself for so long, feelings that now seemed impossible to ignore. "Good morning," my husband called from behind me as he entered the kitchen, his voice breaking through my reverie. I turned, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Morning." He leaned against the counter, casually scrolling through his phone while sipping his coffee. The mundane nature of our exchange felt suffocating. How had we become so distant? "Any plans for today?" he asked without looking up. "Just some errands," I replied vaguely, avoiding his gaze. My mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead, the inevitable confrontation with my stepson and what it would mean for both of us. As I prepared breakfast mechanically, my thoughts drifted back to last night's conversation with an old friend at a coffee shop downtown. She had sensed something was off and pressed me for details about my life, my marriage, and this secret I carried like a shadow wherever I went. "You deserve happiness," she had said earnestly over steaming cups of coffee amidst laughter from nearby tables filled with friends enjoying their lives together. Her words echoed in my mind now as I flipped pancakes on the griddle. Happiness seemed so far out of reach, a distant memory overshadowed by guilt and confusion. The doorbell rang unexpectedly, jolting me from my thoughts. My heart raced as dread washed over me. There was only one person who could be at this hour, my stepson. "Could you get that?" my husband called out while busying himself with breakfast plates. I nodded absent-mindedly and made my way to the door, each step heavy with anticipation and fear of what awaited me on the other side. When I opened it, there he stood, his expression unreadable but eyes searching mine for something unspoken. "Hey," he said softly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Hi," I replied cautiously, glancing back toward the kitchen where my husband still busied himself unaware of our silent exchange. "Can we talk?" His voice dropped to almost a whisper as he closed the door behind him. "Now?" My heart raced at his urgency. "Please." He looked so earnest standing there, it tugged at something deep within me, the part that craved connection yet feared its consequences. "Okay," I said finally, leading him into the living room where we could speak away from prying ears. Once settled on opposite ends of the couch, tension hung thick in the air between us like an uninvited guest. "What's going on?" I asked gently but firmly. He hesitated before speaking again. His hands fidgeted nervously in his lap as if grappling with emotions too complex to articulate simply. "I've been thinking about everything, about us." A knot formed in my stomach at his words. They echoed too closely to those dark corners where secrets thrived unchecked. "We can't keep doing this," I said quietly but firmly, the weight of reality crashing down around us like waves against rocks worn smooth by time. "But why not?" His eyes searched mine desperately for understanding or perhaps validation for feelings we both knew were wrong yet undeniably real. "You make me feel alive." Those words hung heavy between us, a bittersweet reminder of what we shared but also a stark warning against what lay ahead if we continued down this path together unchecked by reason or consequence. "I can't lose everything," I whispered more to myself than him as doubts swirled inside like leaves caught in an autumn windstorm threatening chaos all around them, everything once familiar now feeling foreign and frighteningly unstable beneath our feet. "We don't have to lose anything." His voice softened slightly though conviction remained firm beneath its surface. The promise lingering unspoken yet palpable between us like electricity sparking through air thick with tension ready to ignite at any moment should one careless word slip free into open space unguarded by reason or cautionary tales learned through experience. Over years lived fully aware yet somehow blind when faced head-on by desires pull undeniable even amidst stormy seas threatening shipwrecks ahead should one Dare venture forth recklessly, unprepared for consequences awaiting just beyond horizon's edge where dreams danced tantalizingly close yet always just out reach, forever remaining elusive mirages fading into twilight shadows cast long across paths chosen, unwisely perhaps leading nowhere good ultimately. I need time, I finally said aloud, breaking silence lingering too long between us, weighed down by unsaid truths hanging heavily upon hearts entwined despite knowing better. Knowing consequences awaited should we continue down paths paved carelessly without thought given toward future beyond moments fleeting past quickly, leaving echoes behind, haunting reminders lingering long after fading light disappears into darkness left behind. His expression shifted slightly. A mixture of understanding mingled with frustration etched across features drawn tight under pressure, mounting steadily, growing heavier, still pressing down upon shoulders already burdened too much, bearing weight impossible alone without help offered freely but never sought after until now, perhaps too late, already lost somewhere along way, lost amidst tangled webs spun tightly around hearts caught unaware, drawn closer together despite all warnings given freely. Spoken, shared openly, yet somehow ignored completely, lost sight, purpose drifting aimlessly forward without compass guiding safely homeward again. I'll wait, he finally murmured, breaking eye contact, turning away, looking anywhere else except directly meeting gaze, locked together tightly, holding on to moments shared previously cherished despite knowing danger lurking close enough nearby, ready strike without mercy when least expected, catching unaware, leaving devastation behind, wreckage strewn carelessly across paths once traveled, easily traversed, now fraught treacherous terrain filled, pitfalls hidden, dangers lurking just beneath surface. Waiting patiently, biding time until opportunity arises, strike swiftly, decisively, leaving nothing untouched, forever changing landscape, familiar once known turned unfamiliar, suddenly strange, frightening, unknown territory filled, uncertainty looming large overhead. Casting shadows, darkening skies above, threatening storms approaching fast, ready unleash fury, unleashed upon unsuspecting souls wandering lost, seeking shelter, refuge from elements raging wild, outside world beyond control, grasp slipping slowly away. I can't promise anything. My voice barely above whisper, trembling slightly under weight, emotions swirling around inside, threatening spill forth uncontrolled, flooding everything left untouched until now, finally breaking free, cascading downward, washing away barriers built sturdy strong over years spent. Shielding self-hurt, pain suffered silently alone, unable share burdens carried far too long without reprieve, sought peace found, fleeting moments stolen here, their lost grasp slipping further away, each passing day drifting deeper, darkness alone surrounded, silence broken, only sound, heart beating loudly, echoing within, chest pounding fiercely, resonating loudly, reminding alive, still fighting against odds, stacked high, towering above, looming large, threatening, crush beneath weight, despair overwhelming, crushing spirit, slowly suffocating, slowly dimming light, flickering faintly, struggling hold on to hope, flickering dimly, fading fast. I'll be here. He stood, then stepped back, slowly retreating toward door, leaving behind lingering warmth, imprint, memory burned deeply etched within soul, forever marking place once occupied, safe haven transformed, battleground fought fiercely, battles waged, fought hard, won, lost ultimately, leading nowhere good, only heartbreak, sorrow, sadness filling void, left empty spaces, longing filled, desperately seeking solace, comfort found, fleeting moments stolen, wayward glances exchanged, hurried touches brushed fingertips. Lingering long enough, ignite, spark, flare, briefly illuminating darkness surrounding, everywhere else cast shadows deepening further, still drawing closer together, pulling apart, slowly drifting away, uncertain future awaiting just beyond reach, ready embrace whatever comes next, whether welcomed or feared, facing unknown, boldly, bravely stepping forward, taking leap, faith, trusting instincts guide safely homeward again despite dangers lurking, always waiting, patiently observing closely, never letting go completely, holding tight, keeping watchful eye, ensuring nothing slips past unnoticed, quietly vigilant, protecting precious memories treasured, forever held dear, tightly wrapped, securely wrapped within fragile heart, yearning desperately find peace once again.